6:18 on Milwaukee Public Radio. Good morning, I'm Rachel Owens. Climate change is a slow-moving catastrophe, according to President Obama, yet we haven't heard much about it this campaign season. Here in Wisconsin, the U.S. Senate race pitting Democrat Russ Feingold against GOP incumbent Ron Johnson has brought up just about every other topic, from job creation to immigration, but little on their approach to climate change. So, WUWM environmental reporter Susan Bence looked into it.
Lloyd Holterman milks 900 cows on his farm an hour west of Milwaukee. Milking is a 22.5-hour-a-day process, so one of Holterman's top priorities is staffing.
We employ 18 full-time, about 50% of our staff is migrant. Ron Johnson understands we need a critical number of workers. Secure the borders, yes, but we still need to have some kind of a program that allows people to come here and work.
And Holterman believes the incumbent senator understands dairy farmers' concerns about climate change.
If we really are heating up, that changes the development of our crops, how well they feed. It can impact everything.
Holterman believes farmers must meet the challenge with a step-by-step approach.
We are actually conquering this one thing at a time. Our water usage on our dairy, for every gallon of milk, we're using about 40% of the water we did even 15 years ago. Which means that we use less electricity, so our carbon footprint is dramatically reduced.
Back to Ron Johnson, you feel that he shares your philosophy of attacking climate change step by step.
Absolutely.
It's not easy to confirm the veracity of Holterman's take on the GOP senator. Multiple attempts to interview him failed. But journalists quizzed Johnson and Democratic opponent Russ Feingold about climate change during a debate in Green Bay. Here is Johnson's response to the question, what is the most important energy source of the future, and what can be done to get us there?
I'm for an all-of-the-above energy strategy, not opposed to some government funding for catalysts and wind and solar to fund basic science and research, but in the end, it's got to be market-based, because if it's not market-based, electricity rates would necessarily skyrocket, and that's not good for our economy.
Johnson has faced criticism about what seems a shifting stance on climate change, from his questioning whether it is man-caused to suggesting humans flourish in warmer weather. Challenger Russ Feingold seizes any opportunity to contrast his position.
This is enormously threatening to the future of our country and our planet. Anybody that talks about children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren has to take this seriously. The climate is obviously changing dramatically.
As for strategies, Feingold calls President Obama's Clean Power Plan a good starting point. The plan calls for the country to cut back carbon emissions 30% by the year 2030. At the moment, the controversial framework is bogged down in a court challenge.
I think the president has moved us in the right direction, and we're going to have to take serious bipartisan effort to broaden those efforts.
The Sierra Club supports Feingold's position that the U.S. must move toward using diverse energy sources. Diane Dagelin chairs its local chapter.
That, in so doing, will create thousands of jobs as we phase out fossil fuel and use sun, wind, geothermal. That's going to give us a cleaner environment. It's also a matter of conscience.
Chris Young and his students have been observing the thread of environmental discussion during the campaign cycle. Young teaches a global citizenship course on climate change at Alverno College. Young says discussion of climate change has lost rather than gained political traction.
I think major candidates in most races don't really want to talk about it. In fact, they don't really want to talk about environmental issues much at all, because this became the predominant one, and its solution is so elusive.
Susan Bence, 89.7, WUWM.
You can hear a longer conversation with Professor Chris Young later this morning on Lake Effect. That's at 10 o'clock here on 89.7 WUWM, Milwaukee Public Radio. It's now 6:22.